I'm there. I'm back again. Can you see me? Claire, whip on. And then hopefully I can invite you in. Hang on. And we shall have another go and see whether we can get this live working. Well, I'm here, but getting other people to join. Hopefully Belinda's there as well. Belinda, you're there again, so I can bring you on. Much though I want to bring you on. I can bring you on. Hooray, hooray. We're going for it. You're being added, Claire. It's connecting. Da, da, da. I feel I now need to have some sort of techie dance. That every time it starts, it suddenly works again. I can do a little bit of a shimmy. Bring up university moves, Belinda. What do you reckon? Okay. We're there. She's got her water or something. Oh, is that green?
It's water. It's a green glass.
Oh, okay. I had suddenly went, oh, you think you should bring it on. Cheers.
Yes. We did it. Yay, Belinda.
We are. If we do nothing else, Claire, I did. This is nothing to do with Claire. It's going with my software. Last week I didn't get the other Claire on at all, and this time I can't get Claire Ford on. Nobody can hear her.
Can everybody hear me okay? Can everybody hear me okay? Give us a thumbs up, Belinda, if you're still watching. If you can hear and see us.
There are flowers, crystals, and vibes being sent our way.
Good.
Thank you, Belle, for joining us and staying with us. Yeah. Right. Let's get cracking in case other technicalities end up getting in the way. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining on another live at 5. We've had some exciting weeks. We are, Claire, are we week 15? I thought we were week 15, aren't we?
Yes, I think it's week 16 of lockdown, and on Sunday I did my week 15 of planning. So yeah. And somebody said to me last week that we're over the 100 days mark, 103 or something now.
Right. Okay. I wanted to bring Claire on because she runs Hub, which is a fantastic resource. She's also a local mum for us down in Kent. Absolutely relevant to you guys. Belinda's up in North Wales. She lives in a beautiful location. Your stuff is global because we've got a real global here in the States. But regardless of that, I think that your you cover and the way you deliver is appropriate. So I was really eager to get Claire on before we hit Easter.
Yes.
Because we've still got 2 weeks to go to whatever, 2 weeks here in the UK. And obviously that will be different everywhere. Can I just ask if my sound is all right? Because I can hear myself feeding back. Belinda, does this
You're breaking up.
Okay, I'm breaking up, but Claire's fine. I will try and get my AirPods. I've just given my AirPods here. So I will... What's going on? I just don't know. It's the weirdest thing. Okay, right. Claire, can I ask you to do some interesting... I'm going to try and talk as little as possible if my sound's going funny. And I know you'll have no problem stepping in with that anyway.
Okay.
So I think I put out there, and obviously on Big Life, it's better. Homeschooling tips, 3 homeschooling tips, but also 3 tips of how we're going to transition our kids from where we are now to going, for those who are going to school, to going back to school in September.
Yeah, that's a massive thing. Yeah, absolutely. And this is what I've just done for the people in the Home Education Hub. So if I start with the transitioning first, because I've literally just been talking about this workshop. So over the summer, I'm putting together 2 wellbeing workshops. The first one is confidence for children, confident kids, and the second one is transitions. So it's like managing changes, right? And they're both on the last Friday of each month. So the transitions workshop is on the 28th of August, just before people go back to school, if they are going back to school. Now, if people say, well, that sounds brilliant, but we can't make it, we're on holiday, or it's the August bank holiday or whatever, that's fine. You can still get all the recordings, you can still get all the workbooks that accompany it. So it's worth signing up anyway. And as you say, the thing is, you know, September is such a time of change, isn't it? You know, seasonally we're changing, we're moving into the darkness, right? And also, I think for me, I mean, I've been educating now for over 20 years. For me, it's like my new year, right? It's not like January is my new year. It's like I've just actually got my new academic diary. Like my year starts September till August. Right? That's how I think. That's how I've been thinking for years. So for me, it's a new year. And even if people are deregistering their children, right? Even if people are already home educating and they may think, oh, okay, well, you know, it doesn't matter to us. We're doing what we're doing anyway. It's still this sense of coming out of lockdown and having, you know, getting your children used to socializing in big groups again. Now, for many children, this might not be a problem, but for some children, it definitely will be. And if I think about myself, you know, I'm an intuitive, I'm an empath, I'm an introvert, or actually the word I think is ambivert, which is where you can be extroverted, but you need lots of time to recover afterwards. Now, for those kinds of people and those kinds of sensitive children, suddenly being thrown into a huge kind of community where it's noisy, where there's hubbub, where there's rules, where there's structures which are different, perhaps in each classrooms, the assemblies are all different, the playtimes are all different. This could actually cause a great deal of anxiety. And even the most confident children, you know, nobody quite knows what to expect. The teachers don't know what they're doing. The government doesn't know what they're doing. You know, even if they expect everyone to be back in school in September, if there is a spike, you cannot have a class of 30 children. You just can't, right? That is not social distancing. So you can't suddenly make schools twice as big. Right? No. So how's that going to work? You know, are people going in part-time? Are people doing some days, not other days? You know, is Saturday mornings perhaps going to be one of the options? Who knows? Thank goodness I'm not making the decisions. But what I can do is I can help parents and children be prepared for changes, right? There's a kind of emotional resilience that we can help families and children develop so that they're not so anxious about changes. So they're not so anxious about things not looking like how they thought they would look. Now, obviously, for children who are slightly on the spectrum, this is even more of a challenge, right? Children who are on the autistic spectrum need to have lots of information prior to changes to make it as least stressful as possible. You know, they need structure, they need routine, they need the information ahead of time. They need kind of dry runs and practice runs. Yeah, so if anyone... Yes. Now, if anybody's school is offering online kind of meet your new classroom, but online, like a little video walk around, definitely get your children to see that so they can see, because normally what would be happening at this time of year for all the children is that they would be meeting their new class teacher, they'd be going into their new classroom, they'd be finding their new desk, they'd be seeing where to put their bags, they'd be seeing where to put their books, they'd understand what the book corner looked like, right? Teachers spend a lot of time in the summer actually transitioning students into the new academic year, right? They spend a lot of time, several days doing that. And of course, for children transitioning to different schools, going from year 6 to year 7, or going from nursery into year R, or going from year 12 into year 13 into our GCSE years, year 11 into year 12, this is also really big transitions. It's a massive change, and the children haven't had the opportunity to test it out, right? If you think normally for our year 6 children, they'd be having some days in their secondary school. They'd be getting the buses, they'd be getting the trains, they'd be standing at the bus stop with their friends looking really little and nervous, right? They'd be going around this huge big school feeling very overwhelmed right now. And that's good. That's the whole point, is that it's a dry run. It's a practice. So all that practice has got to happen at the same time as the assessments when children go back to school, because they're going to have to be restreamed. Even if, teachers don't use those words, you're going to have to think, well, where is everybody now? We've had all this time out since March. We can't teach to what would normally be year 6, term 1, day 1, lesson 1 in maths. That's not going to happen. We might have to go all the way back to year 4 concepts, right? Or year 4 might have to go back to year 2 concepts. Or the year 7s might have to redo year 5 concepts. So teachers are going to be very, very stressed. The teachers are going to be very stressed, right? And because the teachers are going to be stressed, even if they put as many things in place, they stay as calm as possible, they bring all their training to the classroom to try to make this transition as easy as possible. It is, I predict, with 20 years experience as a teacher and as a mother, I predict that it is going to be a little bit tricky for quite a lot of people.
I agree. So what apart from watching, if they're doing that sort of thing, how as parents, how can we help our kids now? Can you give us some tips? It'd be brilliant to do the workshop.
Yes.
Yes. To gain developing information of your kids and how they talk about it and
yes, exactly. Well, the main thing I think is to have a conversation, right? This is the main thing, is to have a conversation, and it's actually to be honest, right? And I think also the thing is, it's okay to say as parents or as educators or as head teachers, it's okay to say, do you know what? We don't know what it's going to look like. Right? There's nothing worse than lying to our children in the sense that we're trying to cotton wool over this situation, right? They already know the world doesn't look like how it used to look. They've been living in lockdown too. They know they're doing online classes. They know they haven't seen their friends. They know some people have gone back to school wearing masks, right? They know that things look weird and they're not the same. So there's no point in us pretending that, come September, everything will be the same. Right? Because it won't be. It probably won't be. So I think the first thing is just to have a conversation with the children and just ask them, say, look, when you go back to school in September, hopefully this teacher will be there. Maybe people resigning now, right? Now's the time people can resign if they want to. Their class teacher might not even be in the school anymore, that their favourite teacher. Who knows? So it's worth just saying it's not going to look the same. Let's feel into that. How does that feel when we think about going into school on the first day? How does that feel? And talk to them about where their feelings are in their body, right? If they're talking about feeling scared, if they're talking about feeling anxious, let's not just brush that under the carpet and say, you'll be fine when the time comes. It's about actually putting those feelings on the table and acknowledging them. And even as an adult saying, do you know what? I'm so glad you said that. I'm feeling a bit anxious too, because I don't know how to help you for the best yet. I don't know normally we would know what to do. Normally we know the first day you do this, you wear this uniform, you take this book bag, you have this in your packed lunch, you have this book in your bag to read, this is the classroom you're going to, and that's your seat. Off you go, little cry, few tears, child's growing up, go home, do the housework, sit down and think, thank God for that, right? It's not going to be like that. You might have a half day, you might have some days in, some days out. We need to be honest as adults. And we need to say, we'll get through this together. As long as you tell me how you're feeling, I'll tell you how I'm feeling. And then what we do is we help model how to navigate those feelings.
Got you. Perfect sense. That makes perfect sense.
Yes, because it's okay for us to be nervous too. And actually, I think in the old parenting paradigm, you've got me going right off on one now. So tell me when to stop. But I think in the old parenting paradigm, what used to happen is we as parents felt we had to be in control, right? We're the adults, we should know best. And this is actually quite a scary thing for children because there's two reasons. One, if they see us out of control, and let's face it, we've all lost our whatever now and again. If they see us out of control, that's very frightening because the rest of the time we're in control or pretend we're in control. The second thing is that if they have feelings of being out of control, they've got no way of self-regulating because we haven't shown them how to do that. They think everybody is always in control of their emotions, right? That's what they see in the adults around them. And that's totally not true.
No.
And then, you know, if they freak out, if they get angry, if they have tantrums, if they get really sad about something, but, you know, a boy gets really sad about something, he's never seen his dad cry, or a daughter gets really sad about something and she's never seen her mum shout. Well, that's unlikely in my household, but
reality now, Claire.
Do you know what I mean? It's really important that it's really important that we're authentic as parents, because actually showing that vulnerability, there's strength in that. Children learn how to navigate the ups and downs of life, and they learn that it's okay to just be the feeling that you have.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's interesting because I don't know whether you saw when Sarah Weller came on, but you know, she was saying very things. You know, that in order to build the tools, we need to show, and part of human nature is like the ups and the downs, but how we navigate that and what tools we use to pull us up from that.
That's right.
Say, it will all be fine.
That's right. Right. That's right. Because that's why we as adults have had our nervous breakdowns and all the rest of it. Because as kids, we were told everything just had to be fine. Right? We get to adulthood, you know, and things aren't all fine. And we don't have the tools to deal with it. And that's why there's people like you and me and therapists and everything else. But if we can equip our children from a young age to go, do you know what, this situation isn't fine, but I know that I can find a way to get through it. I know it's okay to be angry. I know it's okay to be sad. I know it's okay to be anxious. These are human emotions, and I'm just having a human emotion, and it will go through me like a wave. Here it is. This is what anxiety feels like. It feels uncomfortable, but I'm not always going to feel like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Powerful.
I think we've now got enough time. You know, here, again, this is a very UK-based thing. And I know I've got some mums here from Sweden, for example, but their schools haven't closed at all. And they've closed. They've already closed this summer now, I'm imagining, or this week. They broke up much earlier. But again, I know people in Australia, they've no school closed at all. But globally, we still don't know what it's going to look like in a few months.
That's right. And there's no point pretending that we will in order to try and make our children, you know, feel more confident or feel more secure. Yeah. They're going to feel worse because it's not going to look like what we've built their expectations up for it to look like. So you're better off saying, we've got no idea what's happening, but let's feel into that having no idea. Let's navigate how it feels when you've got no idea. Yes, and that's where the power lies. That's where the power lies. That's where we then are really gifting our children some lifelong tools and techniques that they can take with them into their future, into adulthood. So every time they get that horrible feeling, they know to name it, they know where it is in their body, they know how to navigate that. So if they feel anxious before exams, before a driving test, before an interview for university, before an interview for a job, when they're asking somebody's hand in marriage, right? They can navigate that feeling because they know what it is, and they know that it was okay to feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're actually, you know, we've got quite a golden opportunity with all that.
We have I think that this has given us as parents, as educators, and as a human race, I think this has given us so many opportunities, right, to really dig deep, to really peel away some of the layers of all the crap that we've been hiding behind for the last few hundred years, right, and to actually really look at what we need as a human race. And it's my passion and mission to support our younger generation to really make sure that they can fully potentialize without being boxed into these little holes that they no longer fit. So that's
and I think it will, globally, it will be interesting to see what happens.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, the thing is, you know, you say about top tips for home learning, but actually it's top tips for home learning, it's top tips for parenting, top tips for educating, and really it's top tips for life as well, to be honest with you. And, you know, so one of those things is well, it's called child-led learning, but That's not exactly what I mean by that. Is talk to your child and ask them what they want to learn, right? There's nothing worse, right? We have now, you don't need to go to school to learn anything. You can just ask Google, right? We've proven that for the last 3 months. You don't need to go to school to learn about Egyptians, right? If you want to learn Egyptians, you type in Egyptians, you get a whole realm of stuff about Egyptians. So you don't need to go to school to learn at all, right? But you can go to school to learn other things, but it's not to learn facts. So actually this, as you're talking about a golden opportunity, is to actually find out what is your child interested in, right? Now that they've switched off learning from a little bit from the traditional way of learning, they might be open now to actually thinking about, you see what they're interested in, so follow their lead. This is what I mean by child-led. If they're out in the garden turning up stones and looking at little bugs or loving the butterflies, well then obviously, you can do things about flowers and nature and butterflies and all of that. On the other hand, if they're really always got their nose in a book and they're loving reading stories, then you do stories. If they're amazing artists have popped up all over the place in these Facebook groups, some of the drawings these children have done,
astounding.
Astounding. And if they were in an art class at school, they would not have done that. I can say that hand on heart. Right? So the thing is, we need to make sure that we still use this opportunity to really feel into what it is our children, they're starting to discover their passions, their unique gifts and their talents, right?
It's interesting, that's what Belinda's put. She's put that's the only way it works for us now. I mean, obviously, you don't know, Belinda's too younger. Belinda, let me know, remind us how old your two are. But I think it's been amazing to see how parents have gone with that flow.
It's beautiful, and it's a really good way to do it, because once you have an engaged learner, well, it's not an uphill struggle then. You see, the problem we had at school as teachers is that the curriculum, of course, is a national curriculum. There has to be an element of starting somewhere, right? 11 and 6. So with your 11-year-old, yes, now there could have been some challenges there with homeschooling this summer, I'm sure. So the thing is, there's an element of somebody starting somewhere with something to come up with the national curriculum. But I put a comment in my group and on my page a while back, saying if you could create your own national curriculum, right? Let's not moan as parents and educators, right? Imagine you're now in government sitting down going like, holy crap, I've now got to come up with something new for the whole education system, right? Somebody's got this job. So if you could create your own national curriculum, and I would love for your community to answer this question, what do you want to see in it? Because there's no point in just dissing the system if you're not coming up with a solution.
That's it.
And if you want to see some of those things, alternative things in the national curriculum, well, my next question would be, well, have you started teaching them to your children? People are talking about money management. People are talking about, land management, growing crops, living off the land. People are talking about, household skills, making sure that you know how to be independent and live healthily. Well, have you started teaching these to your children?
But I think it's enough. A lot of people have.
They have.
They've seen there's a counter. And I think a lot of people are aware. Not everybody, but a lot of people are aware that the curriculum is very. If your child is academic, work great for you. Those tend to be the parents that are quite happy for their children to just keep doing the Zoom classes, the PowerPoint presentations, whatever the academic structure is for your child's school. But actually, what I've seen is the kids that are struggling more, who are less academic for whatever reason, the parents are being more creative because they're trying to get engaged in the academics. So they're being more creative with homework, washing cars, baking, growing outside, taking them out, but exploring with them, not just a family walk, but actually let's make that and I've seen, I mean, it's been amusing to me because I've been doing this, and Belinda would be exactly the same. You know, we've been doing this just innately because that's the way we live. But for a lot of people, it's been like a moment. Yeah. I love it. I'm just like, you must do, Claire. You know, educated queen. I mean, you must be going, yeah.
Yes, I'm excited about the opportunities. I mean, I've got a foot in both camps. So, for example, I've just done a creative writing story challenge in my group,
which has been awesome.
To give people the opportunity to get their stories published. However, the people who've joined that challenge, I have actually done classes over Zoom with PowerPoints, but I have made it very creative and fun as well. Yeah. Right? So I've definitely got a foot in both camps. And I think the thing is, even in one family, you can have children who are very different learners. Right? So it might be that one person actually really enjoys going through a process. I took, 20 children through a tried and tested process of this is how you write a story. You go from a blank page to a publishable story if you take these steps and you do a little bit every day, right? And it's amazing. We've had homeschoolers in there. We've had home educators in there. We've had people who are more traditionally academic, like you say, all different levels and abilities, from the ages of 6 to 14. Now, I've never taught an online Zoom class, creative writing class, to that many people from around the world, ages 6 to 14. So that was a challenge for me.
Massive.
It's a different way of teaching. It's a different way of learning. But nevertheless, we still had to use, Zoom and all of that, right? Yeah. But what I did was I gave people options in their workbook of how to do more creative ways. And what I loved about it was when you look at the work that the people popped on the Facebook group, all their plans were completely different. Right, I gave people lots of different templates. So yes, it was a bit traditional, but there was room for maneuver. Right? There was room for creativity. There was room for discussion. There was room for parents to write it if children couldn't write it. Because it's about the ideas, getting the ideas out of their heads.
Absolutely, and it's interesting. Belinda's Paula, who's her 11-year-old daughter. She's not. She's Belinda, type in and let us know how she's blossoming, because I know you're you and Sid anyway. So, but have you been able to fully embrace the participation? Because I think that's the difficulty, isn't it? You might do 13. They're everything is just being said.
Yes,
tick that box. Tick that box.
That's the thing. Yeah.
But I can still see, the stuff that they're interested in, they'll spend long time.
Yes.
Why wouldn't they?
Yes. And, that's normal. And the thing is, I think, any teacher worth their salt has to make the learning creative and fun and inspiring and interactive. But there are some subjects that lend themselves better to that than others. And so the thing is, this is why this child-led learning is so important, because if you see them switching off and losing interest, well, then stop, pull it to an end, draw it to a close, wait for another time. For example, this creative writing, I said to some people, here are the lessons, upload them, listen to them when you want to, re-listen again. And I said to the children, I literally gave them permission to stop. I said, if it's not happening for you, stop, put it down, pause the video, come back to it another day, do it at a time that suits you.
How refreshing for a child to hear that from a teacher.
Yes. But you see, how refreshing for a teacher to be able to say that to a child.
I think that's been a shame, actually, of the opportunity that people have. I don't want to go down this whole debate, because we could be here for a long time. And I don't mean this in any way as a critical aspect. But, you've been given an opportunity to shift things.
Yes.
And bring a different slant in. And yet some teachers are, Monday is 40 questions, Friday there's the answers.
Yes, but you see, they're still employed by the schools.
And I go, really?
They're still employed by the schools. They're still accountable. Their planning is still being monitored.
No, I get actually, Claire, I've got to be honest. I don't think so.
Oh, is it not?
Let's not go down this road. But I think the schools individually have been left completely to their own devices.
But what I mean is teachers are still going to be accountable to their departments and to their head teachers and to their Senkos, and if they're not, they're not. I mean, some teachers are creative.
I don't think there's a lot of schools that that's happening. And I think the pity is that this is an opportunity, also an opportunity for education.
It really
and a big political thing, because I feel quite strong about this. I'm just going to say I go for the stupid because she was being educated. It's very true. But sorry, I've got to do the same which they were. Different ones on my present in the family, happy and health. Brilliant. So,
yeah.
So I'm just going to ask this into Belinda. So Belinda, is she doing English and is she struggling with that? Because obviously now Steve's mum around and give me loads of Welsh speakers, because obviously they're being in Wales, they learn the two languages, which is especially Welsh, really tricky.
Yes, we've got some Welsh speakers in our hub as well. So we have got
second generation as well. Oh, sorry, knocking my phone there as I'm talking. So it'd be interesting to see how that kicks in. You know, if you have stuff that you don't get, for example, been a really big challenge for parents.
Yes,
I think in many ways I'm quite. I don't know how everyone else feels, but I've in many ways I'm quite pleased at the end of this. I think it's been really hard for kids. She goes to a Welsh school, so receptionist. It's really tough. That's really tough because that perception of how you feel is one, and especially at that, you know, because you know how they feel participating is everything in their world. Yeah, very difficult. I'm trying not to speak too much because I know my voice is going funny. Okay, Claire, let's not go. We're going to get too hung up on our, you know me, you me. We talk about education all the time because I know we've done this before. Let's try and wrap this up with a real positive of now in September. I don't even mean transition, but how can we work with our kids and really work with them? But whatever, September, go back to school, homeschooling, whatever we all decide to do.
Exactly. I mean, I think the thing for me as a parent, as an educator, and as somebody who's passionate about children and how they develop, is to just, you know, the biggest gift I feel we can give them as parents is to make sure that they are switched on to their intrinsic self as a learner, as a curious child, right? So if that's been beaten out of them for whatever reason, for boring schoolwork or whatever, or they've switched off, or they've had a rest over the holidays, or, you know, whatever, it's important to get them confident in knowing that they can learn anything. Right? They need to be able to either carry on in September at home, carry on at school, whatever it is you choose, flexi schooling, whatever. I'm not interested in the actual politics behind all of that. My thing is your child a switched on learner? Do they know how to ask curious questions? Do you know how to get them to ask curious questions? Like you say, when you're out in that woodland walk, you know, are you asking why? Why are the leaves on the trees changing colour? And it doesn't matter if you don't know, you go home and explore it together, right? You know, why are there dark clouds in the sky? Do you know what? That's a brilliant question. I never thought of that. Something to do with the rain, but why it makes them go grey when rain is clear, I have no idea. Let's go and investigate. So start asking curious questions. That is the biggest gift you can give your child.
I love it. I love it, and I can really see it at the moment with homeschooling. Because there's an outlet where when they're stuck in the classroom, even if it is interesting, they don't have the forum to ask.
No.
And so, and also, that.
Yes, and also, you know that phase that children go through when they're 2, and they always come up to you, don't they, going, but why, but why, but why? And we're like, oh, for goodness sake, I don't know, or, you know, or because I say so, or whatever, because we don't have time to answer the questions. Now's the time to look into the why. Embrace the why.
You know, I'm a lifelong learner. Belinda, you're very welcome, my lovely. Thank you so much for joining us and engaging with us. I'll catch up with you soon. But I think, Claire, I think it's so imperative that.
Yes, definitely.
You know, that we can help with love of learning.
Yes, help with that love of learning and become that learner yourself. It's okay to not know the answers, right? It's okay. When they come up with a question, it's like, oh my goodness. You know, because let's think about it. We haven't necessarily been in that headspace since we were at school, some of us. So it's like,
I forget so well.
I love that. You know,
rubbish memory. And when I mean I'm bad at maths, working maths, as in running my own business, no problem at all. School maths, it almost makes me, you know. But
maybe you've had a bad
we've made a funny thing about it the last few years. You know, I go, can I help? And I go, it's okay, Mum, it's okay. I go, do you know what? I'm all right with that, because I put my hands up and go, I can go and research for you. They kind of go, no, you're okay. But they'll come to the other stuff, you know.
That's right. And the thing is, it's also showing that we don't all have to be good at everything. No. Like, your strength is something else, you know. Go and find the person who can do.
Sorry, that's the dog.
You know,
sorry.
Go and find, so that's the thing about, you know, knowing your strengths and weaknesses and just outsourcing what you can't do or don't want to learn.
Yeah.
I can teach maths. You don't have to teach maths, right? You can probably teach art or yoga or mindfulness. I don't have to teach that. So go and find somebody who can teach your child the things that they're interested in that you don't know.
Yeah.
You know? That's the thing. You don't have to know it all.
No, and I think that's been a really powerful learning lesson. I really think it's been a real integral thing for all of us who have been able to. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay that you know, it's year 6 maths and I don't do it, or they want me to draw, you know, a rabbit. I'm going, you know, you know, that honesty, I think, is very powerful.
And that's what we started off with, didn't we? We started off with that honesty and having that vulnerability as an adult to be honest and to say, this I can do, this I can't do. This I know the answer to. This I don't have a ball to see into the future. I don't know.
Lovely.
And children will respect that.
Yeah, I agree. Regardless of age, I agree. I think really that honesty is really important. I think you've given us some absolute. I knew you would. I knew you would get some real gems to take away, and I am looking forward to you come back in September for us.
Oh, go on then.
Because I think that'd be really key. You know, maybe a couple of weeks after everybody.
Yes. We'll see what's happened.
We'll see what's happened. If you come back and
yes, of course. We'll transition to the next normal questions. Yes, I will. No problem.
Tell us again about your workshops coming up and how people can connect with there.
Yes, so the best thing really is for people to just private message me because I've got links and everything I can send them. So we've got a workshop coming up at the end of July about helping kids to be confident, a workshop coming up at the end of August about supporting children to transition, and then we've got the summer camp, Switched On Kids Summer Camp, which is English support and math support over the holidays, just light touch, kind of revision on fractions and all that lovely stuff that, you know, people need to know. But people might not want to teach, just to keep our children switched on, their brains ticking over, you know, if you think that's something that you could have to support your child. So people can message me.
And would you also put the link to your group?
Yes.
For us. Put the link to the group and the link to, you know, your website and how we can people can access that. And September, please, lovely.
No worries. Yeah, let's do it.
And we'll see. I'll do it more than anyway, but we'll reconnect within the group and see how we can help people once those first couple of weeks. Hi, Alice. I'm sorry, Alice. It's been lovely that you've joined us, but we've just finished. But you'll be able to watch this. This will go up live now, but you should be able to watch it almost immediately.
Perfect.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Lots of people are going to watch us on catch up because 5 o'clock, I know it's always difficult. The time that But thank you for watching. If anybody's got any questions when you ping us comments.
Yeah.
Always comment below, all right?
Yeah.
Because Claire and I will be watching these next couple of days and feeding back in. All right?
Yeah.
So thank you, Claire. You've been a star. Sorry about our Be Live issues earlier.
That's all right.
And my weird thing going on with my sound now.
All right. It's all right. It's all good.
It's just part and parcel. We're used to it, so we're fine. But thank you, everybody. Catch up with you very soon. We've got more lives coming in next week. I'll let everybody know. And Claire, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Bye.
Take care,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.